essentially what I was, wanted to talk about is, can Michigan repeat the success that they had last year playing the same offensive style? Um, I think that's a good question just because of the success that they had offensively. I mean, I think even with, Cade not throwing a ton of touchdowns and things like that, I think he ended with 15 or 16, if I'm not mistaken. But, um, I would categorize Michigan's offense as a massive success this past season. They came up big when they needed to. I mean, the season ended against Georgia, but as we saw in the national championship, Georgia put a vice on just about everybody that they played, and put one on Alabama the second time around as well. But I think for Michigan, it's going to have to look at least a little bit different because I think Hassan Haskins played such a huge role in the Michigan offense, whereas he was one who, he was the bell cow. He was the guy who was getting the heavy carries, and he just was so secure with the football. I still think I don't think he had a lost fumble in the entire season, and he had a lot of carries. And for as great of a running back I think Donovan Edwards is going to be, I still think he's very different than Hassan Haskins. Hassan is that just big bruiser. He's a guy you can give the ball to consistently, 20, 25 touches a game, and he's going to be a guy who gets stronger and stronger as the game goes on. I mean, I think a perfect example would be the Ohio State game where he had 5 touchdowns, I think 4 in the second half. That's a guy who just continues to get stronger and stronger throughout the game. So I think, Blake Corum has a lot of explosiveness to him, and I think that's going to continue this year. But I also think it's very different than the style that Hassan Haskins played in. And then also, too, I mean, Corum missed, I think, 2 or 3 games, towards the end of the season. I can remember the Maryland game. I think he started to come back in the, kind of get some touches and get some carries. But I just think it'll have to look a little bit different just because you don't have that same style of running back in Hassan Haskins. But I have no doubts that Corum and Edwards can definitely handle the workload in the backfield, and I think those guys will be fine. The JJ thing is just it's so tough because I'm not sure how JJ can unseat Cade as the starter. I mean, outside of a meltdown that Cade would have to have in the first 4 games, which based on everything we've seen from him, I just don't think that's coming. I don't think we're gonna have a meltdown from Cade McNamara. He has just been so consistent in the time that he's been, that we've seen him on the field. He has been consistent in his decision making. He makes mistakes, but every quarterback does. So it's not as if he is unique in that regard. Quarterbacks make mistakes, but I think the spring, JJ not being able to participate fully in spring, to me, and this is just me, who is, I'm sure Jim Harbaugh and no one in the athletic department is watching me, but I just think it took the ability for JJ to take the starting job off of the table because I just it's just going to be it's going to be difficult to have a quarterback change in mid-season. Now it's possible. We've seen it happen before. We've seen the Trevor Lawrence and Kelly Bryant, and we've seen those types of things happen. And Jalen Hurts and Tua, those guys were splitting time for a while, and then it went full time to Tua. But it's very difficult, and maybe it's not. Maybe I'm making it more difficult than it is. But the interesting part is with Trevor Lawrence, I think it was clear cut that he was better than Kelly Bryant. And maybe it is clear cut that JJ is the superior quarterback. I think it's clear he's a superior talent, but you need more than just talent to be able to be the starting quarterback and to unseat a quarterback who has what, Cade had 15 starts last year, then started 2 or 3 games the season before. So you're talking a guy who's got 18 starts and is a Big Ten championship quarterback. I mean, whether we like it or not, I mean it he is that. So it would be difficult to unseat him, I think. But I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to do what's best for the team. So maybe that will be, the going with JJ, and maybe they will make that change. I would imagine they're probably going to split time, similar to what we saw last year, and probably JJ getting more reps earlier in the season. Like he played in, I believe, multiple of the out of conference games, but we'll probably see him more in those first 3 or 4 games that we did in the prior year in the first 3 or 4 games. So we will see what happens.